Hello, welcome to Standard Voice Television Global News today, 22nd day of April 2026. Equivalent Islamic calendar, 5th day of Zulqa'dah, 1447 after Hijrah. I am Hamida Muhammad Idris. In headlines, President Tinubu fights finance housing ministers in minor cabinet reshuffle. Nigerian Guild of Editors knocks federal government threats over broadcast conduct. Governor Zulum reveals that terrorists now track soldiers with guns and artificial intelligence. On the international scene, Iran laments U.S. naval blockade impact on food supply after ceasefire violation. And on sports update, Super Falcons moved to 36th position in FIFA World Ranking, top in Africa. These are more news will be coming to you in the bulletin. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has approved a cabinet reshuffle of the Federal Executive Council, FEC, sacking the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, and the Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Ahmed Ngiwa. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, disclosed this development in a memo in Abuja. The memo stated that Tayo Oyedele has been appointed as the new Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, while Mutak Adarma was appointed as Minister Designate for House and Urban Development. The memo therefore directed the outgoing ministers to complete handover processes to their respective successors or supervising officials. The statement also explained that all handling over and taking over activities must be concluded on or before the close of business on Thursday, 23rd April 2026. Presidency has attributed Nigeria's development and growth challenges to the failure of previous administration to adopt serious long-term planning framework. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu made the assertion at the presidential villa in Abuja while hosting a delegation of Enugu State stakeholders led by Peter Mba. He stressed that successive governments had attempted to finance long-term projects with short-term resources, a mismatch that hindered sustainable development. The president also expressed hope that with committed and visionary leadership at the subnational level, Nigeria was on the right trajectory toward becoming a leading African nation. On his part, Governor Umba said the visit was to appreciate the federal government's interventions in the state and reaffirm support for Tinubu's administration. He, however, listed concessioning of the Akanu Ibiani International Airport, the establishment of the Southeast Development Commission, and ongoing road and rail projects as key interventions. In 2027 polls, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has expressed worries over alleged election manipulation at coalition centers, calling for the immediate implementation effective countermeasures to address the issue. Atiku made the assertion when he met with members of the Coalition for Democracy movement led by Jibril Shehu Mustafa while discussing issues focused on strengthening electoral integrity and nationwide political coordination. He also disclosed that the group presented details of its organizational structure across the country and reaffirmed its commitment to supporting his political efforts, mainly in safeguarding the credibility of the electoral process and protecting votes. The former vice president appreciated the coalition's backing and commended its consistency, assuring members that their contributions and sacrifices will be recognized. He, however, added that their efforts will be remembered as part of the broader struggle to defend democratic principles. An Abuja court has struck out a contempt charge seeking to commit the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC Dash Amopitan, to prison for alleged flagrant disobedience to the order of court. The presiding judge, Justice Joyce Abdul Malik, dismissed the suit following the failure of the applicant Edozi Njak and his team to diligently prosecute that charge as required by the law. One Chief Edozi Njak, who claimed to be national chairman of political party, the National Rescue Movement NRM, filed from 48 against the INEC boss, praying the court to commit him to Kuje prison for alleged refusal to monitor the convention of the party. However, following the persistent failure of Njak to serve the committal proceeding papers on Amopitan's person, Justice Abdul Malik invoked the provisions of the law to throw away the request. The justice explained that it was not the duty of the court to help any litigant in serving court process on any defendant, but the entire duty of the applicant in such a matter. Julius Abure-led Labour Party LP faction loyal has rejected a recent appeal court judgment ruling on its leadership dispute, insisting that the verdict is unaccepted. The national chairman of the party, Julius Abure, in a statement faulted the court decision, arguing that it contradicts established legal principles regarding the internal affairs of political parties. He also insisted that issues relating to party leadership remain internal matters, noting that previous court decisions have upheld the position. The factional leader also dismissed claims that the tenure of the current leadership had expired, adding that a valid convention held in March 2024 in Nine will still subsist. The party chairman described the meeting in Umuahia, which led to the emergence of a caretaker committee, as unconstitutional, insisting that only recognized party leadership has the authority to convene such meetings. Nigerian Guild of Editors NGE has expressed worry over a reported move by the National Broadcasting Commission NBC to sanction broadcast presenters accused of presenting personal opinions as part of bullying guests on air. President of the Guild, Izzy Anaba, and General Secretary Onoha Uke, in a statement, described the development as dangerous and a threat to press freedom, editorial independence, and democratic accountability. It also noted that although the NBC may be seeking to promote professionalism and uphold ethical standards, the Commission's position appeared vague and open to multiple interpretations. It also noted that although the NBC may be seeking to promote professionalism and uphold ethical standards, the Commission's position appeared vague and open to multiple interpretations. The editors warned that such ambiguity could lead to misuse, including selective application that may unfairly target journalists and media organizations carrying out legitimate duties. The statement added that the interpretation of the Nigerian Broadcasting Code, particularly across news, current affairs, and political programs, remains subjective and could be abused if not properly handled. The news is coming to you on Standard Voice Television. Still to come in the news. Governor Zulum reveals that terrorists now track soldiers with drones and artificial intelligence. On the international scene, Iran laments U.S. naval blockade impact on food security supply after ceasefire violation. On sport update, Super Falcons moves to 36th position in FIFA World Ranking, top in Africa. These and more news will be coming to you after this short break. Do stand by. Welcome back from that short break, and now the news continues. Governor Babagana Zulum of Borno State has made shocking revelations on the overwhelming challenges facing the Nigerian army in its battle against the scourge of banditry and terrorism. Zulum disclosed this at the launch of the Kogi State Security Summit and fundraising event at the NAV Conference Center, Abuja, adding that in the notes is now used drones to locate locations of military equipment and their personnel. He maintained that there must be periodic upgrades of security equipment, intelligence training, and expertise tools, as he called for collaborative action between citizens and government to surmount worsening insecurity. The Borno State governor, who described Kogi as a strategic gateway between the north and south, urged his colleague, Governor Usman Ododo, to upgrade its security architecture to guarantee safety, economic growth, and prosperity. Governor Ododo, in his welcome address, restated his stance not to negotiate with criminals, insisting that rather the surrender to the antics of bandits and terrorists, the government will invest more in modern surveillance devices and increase support to security agencies to confront challenges. Former Governor of Zamfara State, Abdulaziz Yari, warned against compromising security matters across the state and Nigeria as a whole. Yari, who is the chairman of the board of Geregu Power PLC, spoke in Abuja at the Kogi State Security Summit and fundraising event. The senator also recalled how he apprehended late President Muhammad Buhari for support in tackling the security challenges in his state, noting that his experience battling insecurity in Zamfara State showed that government's budget alone cannot end the crisis. The former governor, however, urged private and public institutions in the state to support the Kogi State Security Trust Fund, noting that when the state is safe and secure, business will thrive. Vice President Kashim Shettima has inaugurated Kaduna State Banquet Hall, describing the project as reflection of purposeful leadership and institutional strengthening. Shettima emphasized that the federal government will continue to support the state, citing its strategic importance in Nigeria's political and socio-economic framework. He also noted that Kaduna occupies a critical position in the nation's development, hence the sustained federal presence through projects and policy interventions. Shettima also added that the federal government will always stand by the state, stressing that the heartbeat of Nigeria cannot be ignored without the whole body feeling the impact. In his remarks, Kaduna State Governor said the state on whole was conceived as a strategic investment in institutional capacity and public engagement rather than just a fiscal structure. He also explained that the whole was designed to host diplomatic engagement, international conferences, exhibitions, and policy dialogues aimed at fostering partnerships and driving development. The government has restated its commitment to water security, sanitation, and climate resilience across Africa as Nigeria hosts a high-level Western African Sub-Regional Ministerial and Technical Advisory Committee consultation on the Africa Water Vision 2063 and its first implementation plan 2026 to 2033. The three-day consultation was convened by the African Ministers' Council on Water in Abuja in partnership with Federal Ministry of Water Resources regional stakeholders to share strategies for improving water governance and service delivery across West Africa. The Director of Information of the Ministry, for me, in a statement in Abuja, said the meeting is focused on developing coordinated responses to pressures on Africa's water resources while settling priorities for the 2026-2030 implementation framework. Water Resources Minister and Council Vice President for West Africa, Joseph Ustev, while declaring the consultation open, warned that Africa's water systems are increasingly under strain due to rapid urbanization, population growth, and climate variability, noting that coordinated region action is now critical. Moving to the foreign scene, Iran says United States naval blockade has had impact on the country's ability to supply basic goods and food, citing strong domestic production and alternative import routes. Agriculture Minister Nori made this known, said despite the U.S. naval blockade, Iran have no problem in supplying basic goods and services because due to the size of the country it's impossible to import from different borders. According to the official IRNA news agency, about 85% of agricultural products and basic goods are produced domestically, so the country's food security is established. The U.S. imposed a naval blockade on Iran's ports and coasts on April 13. The U.S. imposed a naval blockade in Iran's ports and coasts on 13 April. Days after a ceasefire was announced that posed its war with Iran, Iran has strongly criticized the blockade, describing it as a violation of the ceasefire. Finally, to the sport and say Super Falcons have moved one place to 36 in the latest Svtv Women's World Ranking and remain the top-ranked team in Africa. The ranking indicates a modest improvement from the 37th position the team occupied in December 2026. Ranking it also reflects the pre-WAFCON friendlies against Cameroon, in its first 1-0 victory in February, followed by a 3-1 victory in March 2026. 3 days after a narrow one-day defeat in the first encounter, the 10-time African champions returned with a shaper, more aggressive display to turn the tie decisively in their favor. The Super Falcons moved up by 3.35 points to 1,602 in April, although still 5 points short of the 1,607 recorded in December 2025. Behind the Falcons in the Africa are South Africa, Ghana, and Morocco, which are ranked 58th, 59th, and 62nd. Globally, Spain maintains first position, followed by the US, England, Germany, and Japan. Finally, on the news, the top stories again. President Tinubu fives finance housing ministers in minor cabinet reshuffle. Nigerian Guild of Editors knocks federal government threats over broadcast conduct. Governor Zulum reveals that terrorists now track soldiers with guns and artificial intelligence. On the international scene, Iran laments U.S. naval blockade impact on food supply after ceasefire violation. And on sports update, Super Falcons moved to 36th position in FIFA World Ranking, top in Africa. That was Standard Voice Television Global News for today. On behalf of the production crew led by Ilya Adamu Auta, I am Hamida Muhammad Idris. Thank you for investing your time and staying with the news.